Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session with your host, Michael Rearden.
Our world can be a busy place. Before you know it, you're on your phone and you're scrolling and you're seeing all of these things of people accomplishing great things in their life. And then you have a quiet whisper in your mind and you say, I don't know if I'm going to do that. So you play it safe. You take the easy road. You take the road everyone's traveling. So you say, I'm just going to do what everyone else is doing. Because if I do what everyone else is doing, I'm not going to be the target of people's attention. So if there's no attention on me, there's no attention given to me. And I'm just kind of on cruise control. And the only thing I have to do is maintain and maybe show up or show out a little bit more here and there. In our world today, we are struggling with this modern insecurity that many people are living in, and is causing a lot of doubt within individuals. And is also causing this syndrome called the imposter syndrome. Because are you really the person that you're presenting yourself to be on the internet, for example, Instagram? I love I don't know if I love it, but like when people, they put their relationships online and it's all good. It's like, oh, the love and the holding hands and the kissings and the flowers. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's not real. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you might do it here and there, but most people, they do it for the views. Look at my perfect relationship. Look at how happy I am. And it's almost like you need people, or not you per se, but people in general, the masses at least, need some type of validation. They need people to watch their videos and to like it and to subscribe and to follow and to say that they love them, and maybe even some haters too, like to kind of give them the momentum, because I know some people can use that energy, and it's almost like hapkido. It's like, I'm going to use that negative energy and I'm going to turn it into something positive. But that's not for everyone, right? Most people, they're going to want the good aspect of attention. I want you to love me. I want you to admire me. But then at some point, do you lose yourself because you want this extra feeling coming from the outside and not looking so much at what's going on the inside, the internal? Many people will opt for the good stuff on the outside and not worry about the most important part on the inside. We can even relate it to fast food, right? Yeah, sure. Fast food might taste good, right? The cupcakes and the ice cream is good on the outside, right? It looks so pretty. It looks so delicious. But then when it goes into your body, it doesn't give you the fuel you need. It doesn't give you the nutrients to help you move forward. It's stopping you. It's keeping you down. It's an anchor almost. Society right now can be that anchor. So we need to look at what we can do to overcome this. And we're going to be taking a look at my most recent blog, Overcoming Modern Self-Doubt and the Imposter Syndrome. Now, when we are looking at this information, we're going to be just having a few talking points, and then we're going to kind of take the wheel. Number one, we're going to be looking at social media. We're going to be also looking at workplace pressures. We're going to be looking at the cultural expectations. And then we're going to also talk about the idea of perfectionism again. And if you remember, we already had a whole article on perfectionism, a whole blog episode on it, because it is such a big thing where people, they love perfect. They want to do the best they can, and that's a good thing. But when they give themselves if it's not perfect, I don't want it. If I don't want it, I'm not going to be happy if I get it. This happens sometimes with marriages. If the marriage is not perfect, it's like the day is ruined. However, there are certain individuals that can have a terrible marriage. Maybe they get, pushed off the altar and they fall into the pond or something. And they're so happy. They're smiling. They're joyous. They don't care. Versus some people, they're like, I can't believe I failed. This is so embarrassing. My life is over. This marriage is not going to work. The cake fell. The guest, the food was terrible. The DJ. I mean, we can go down the list of the problems for marriage. But we can also look at the good part too. So perfectionism is big, but we're going to be talking about those four. And then we're also going to be looking at the imposter syndrome, where it's talking about the persistent self-doubt, the attributing success to external factors, 3, overworking, and then the fear of failure. We're going to be talking about those two. And then at the end, we're going to be talking about how we can get some tips and some tricks, I guess you can call it, to overcome that feeling that you are enough and rather that you're not enough. So with all that being said, let's get straight into some of the main proponents to why people are feeling this way. Well, of course, social media is big, but it's not necessarily the reason that everyone is dealing with this modern doubt and this imposter syndrome, because social media didn't exist back in the 80s and 90s. But then again, we saw many students going through the aspect of bullying, and there was whole school things happening, and like they're creating, like, what do you call it when initiatives, they were creating initiatives to stop bullying and things like that. And I'm thinking in my mind, you have to have whole initiatives to stop bullying. Like, can't the kids just be good, right? And as a teacher, I remember like when they were rolling out these initiatives, I was like, wait, what's the purpose of this? Like, why can't we just be good role models and give examples? Well, that doesn't work apparently, right? Apparently, we need to have whole programs and we need to have whole conversations about bullying and how you shouldn't do it. But then again, bullying can be a good thing if the person is equipped to handle it. And most people are not equipped to handle bullying today, at least. Back in the day, you can talk about someone, maybe even their mama, and sure enough, the person was, talk back, and they would say something. Maybe they would get so emotional where they would, raise a fist, and now they're going to, duke it out for a little bit. Today, we don't do that, right? Today, it's like, I'm going to hold everything on the inside until it bursts. And typically, when it bursts, it's not good. Sometimes they feel like there's no escape. So they say, well, there's no escape. So the bullying of the past is very different than the bullying of today. The reason being, many people are holding on to inaction when it comes to bullying today versus having action with bullying in the past. Why is that important? And the reason why this is important is because you do not feel helpless. You can defend yourself per se. You can stand up to yourself, because now it's like you're getting a double dose of bullying, especially if you're going to schools. You're getting a dose when you go to school, and then you get a dose when you come out of school. So you're now getting all of this negative energy. You are going to doubt yourself at some point, because especially if you have people whispering in your ear saying, hey, you're not good at this, you're dumb, you're not smart, you're ugly, whatever. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to doubt yourself. And then at some point, you're going to create an entity or a person within you that combats it. So they say, like, for example, if you wear a suit or you wear like a nice clothes and dress and makeup, it becomes your suit of armor. So that becomes your personality, your persona, right? So I'm going to be this person because this person's going to make me feel confident. This person's going to make me feel empowered. This person's going to make me feel good and happy and loved. But when the lights are off, are you still that person that was too afraid to take action when you were bullied or when someone said something negative about you? Most people are. Most people would not like conflict in their life. And I mean, it's okay if you're living in a time of peace, but we live in a very chaotic world today. The whole idea of social media is about trends and being first, and it doesn't matter about who we walk on and who we talk bad about, or even if we are right or wrong. So that means we have an obligation for ourselves to take care of ourselves and not so much let that poison to keep on coming in and affect us. But then there's not just, the schools that we have to look at. We have to look at everywhere, because now from school, you become an adult and now you have workplace pressure. So you have your boss, maybe, or, your coworkers, and even for like people I know, they will go to work and there's so much drama at work. Oh, this person doesn't want to work. Oh, they're hiding in the room or they're hiding in the corner. They don't want to work. Oh, the manager is talking bad about this person. This group is ganging up on this person because they don't like how they act and that they're not sucking up to the boss. I mean, you would think like, hey, you're grown up. Why in the world are you still dealing with these pressures? Why are you still dealing with these insecurities and these doubts and these imposters, basically walking around two-faced with a smile? It's bewildering, but that's the reality, right? People get a rise when they hurt other people, and it's not a good thing. Because if I can get a sense of power and I'm controlling someone, I'm controlling something, right? It could be an outlet, but it's not a good outlet. So for the people who are power hungry, for the bosses who treat their employees poorly, and I'm not even talking about like by accident. And I know like the word accident when it comes to treating people well and bad can be kind of misconstrued. But the reason I say this is because that person might have grown up this way and they might not have any idea that they're doing it. But then at some time or at some point, if it's made aware to them, if they keep doing it, then that means that person is a boss that is being harsh and negative to people that they shouldn't be. And the one way you can tell is if the boss apologizes. Now, of course, the boss might, be working on it, but at the end of the day, if you have to apologize for something you said or one of your actions, then that means you are aware of what's happening. All right. So there's awareness there. And if you have those pressures at your workplace, you have to figure out either how to let them be bygones and kind of deal with it as they go, be able to pivot along the way, or get out. Depending on your situation, I don't know it, but you do have to just figure that out. Now, we look at the cultural expectations and perfectionism, and it's kind of like one in each other. The cultural expectations are going to be what society and what your parents and what the indoctrination is basically saying that you need to be, right? Garbage man, for example, that's a terrible job, right? You don't want to be a garbage man. If you are a garbage man, you're going to be looked down upon and you're going to be the bottom of the barrel person because you're working in sanitation, right? You're working picking up trash. But then again, you are promoted and you are loved and appreciated. If you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, everyone, oh my God, you're so popular and your job is so prestigious. Maybe you're a doctor, maybe you're a lawyer. And now we're getting into this idea of what people need to become in order to be accepted. So if you need to be accepted, what is the job that you need, right? Is it the lawyer? Is it the doctor? Is it the psychologist? Is it the teacher, right? We can go down the list of jobs that people have that they feel accepted in. But then again, you can be a sanitation worker and you can have the mindset that, hey, I'm not worried about showing up for other people. I'm not worried about becoming an imposter. And then we get into the whole imposter syndrome, right? Because that is basically where all of this leads to, where we're looking at the self-doubt, we're looking at the external factors that are going to, accredit to that, achievement of what we're trying to do, right? Because if we have an imposter syndrome, we're trying to be successful, right? We will maybe be that garbage man, but online, we're going to don that Louis Vuitton. We're going to drive the Bentley. We're going to drive the BMW. And now we are above our means or we're beyond our means, but yet we are living as an imposter because we want people to view us in a different light because we are ashamed of maybe the job or our circumstance. And you shouldn't be ashamed of who you are, who you're becoming. If you are a garbage man, if you're a janitor, if you are a fast food worker, I'm sorry, I'm going to treat you the same way as I would a CEO, a company. Just respect, right? Can people not have that that cordial respect that everyone should be having, just a maintain respect for everyone. I understand, like, if you have a job, so like if I have clients like VIP clients and things like that, of course I might, talk to them a little bit different. I might make sure my words are not as sharp, but it's still, hey, you're human, and I will still tell you what I need to tell you when I need to tell you. Now, I'm not over here just telling people off because I feel like it, right? Typically, if it's not good, I'm not going to say it. Now, mindset OD, like, anything about mindset OD, I will say it. But, here at Coaching in Session, Politically Correct, we try to be as cordial as possible when it comes to helping people get over some of these difficulties that they're living in. You might try to mask this imposter syndrome by being busy. So you are overworking and you are just constantly thinking about failing, and you're just thinking about, being made fun of, or what's the word? It's being shown, like who you truly are. So, for example, like if you're home or something and the news shows up and you don't have your makeup on and you don't have your nice clothes on, you're like, oh my God, the news is here. And I'm not sure why the news will be at your house or anything, but it's just kind of like a quick example of how all of a sudden the world can have their eyes on you. And now, are you appropriate to do what you have always been doing, right? Can you go in front of that camera? Can you say what you want to say and not care about what other people are going to think about you? Now, for me, I'm definitely one of those individuals that I'll go out, I'll wear basketball shorts, I'll wear a t-shirt that I have for 15 years. And as long as it doesn't really have holes in it, or the holes are not like too crazy, I don't mind, because you can buy jeans, like $1,000 jeans with all of these holes in them. So now you're paying for less clothing or less fabric, and you're paying more money for it. So it's, a bit strange when it comes to these new trends of clothing. But we are trying to figure out, well, if we're trying to, get out of this way of thinking, or this self-doubt, or this modern self-thinking, we need to figure out how to do that. I have 7 tips here that I'm going to be sharing with you. I'm just going to kind of run through it. Is number 1, recognize and acknowledge. So the first step is basically talking about overcoming these feelings, and recognize and acknowledge them, right? So just say, hey, I have these feelings of self-doubt. I'm not confident in myself. Sure, begin there. 2, challenge the negative thoughts. As I said, remember the difference between bullying from the 80s and to today. People don't challenge what, the negative thoughts that people are saying, or the things that people are saying. And it becomes our thoughts, our internal thinking. Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart. I'm not pretty. And sure enough, it becomes something that we try to cover up. And then we have to go to 3, embrace imperfections. Of course, we're not trying to be perfect. We are perfectly imperfect, or we are imperfect, and that is fine because it's perfect enough, or whatever you want to consider, right? Either or, still talking about the same thing. Imperfection is just an option for you to say there's room for improvement. There's room for growth. And that's a good thing. 4, celebrate successes, no matter how big, no matter how small. Celebrate them, right? If you are someone who's making strides to, change your friend group per se, because maybe your friend group is not a good friend group. Maybe they're gossiping all the time, and you feel like you are an imposter in that group because you have no interest like anyone else. This happens typically from people or from people who are trying to change their circumstance. So if their friends are staying where they are and you're trying to elevate yourself, at some point you're going to doubt if you're making the right move. You're going to feel like you're an imposter in that group, and you have to pretend to be who they would love for you to feel accepted, versus for you to say, this group no longer benefits me. Let me move on. Then we're looking at seeking support. Of course, what we do with Reven Concepts, we look at the aspect of what's going on. We look at the people that are around you. We give you better options, basically. And from there, you are able to flourish a lot better. So think of it as soil. If you put a seed in sand, it might grow, right? Depending on what type of seed it is. There's certain plants that need good, strong, rich soil. There's certain plants that need more clay than sand, and there's certain seeds that need more sand than clay, right? So you have to figure out what type of growth you need in order for you to get to where you want to be. Because maybe you just want to be that garbage man, and the growth need to get there is not so much. But if you want to be that high level CEO that's a family person that's highly successful, that might be a bit of a journey for you, especially looking at where you have come. And then if you have to deal with all of this modern self-doubt and maybe feeling like an imposter, that you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough, that you're not ready, or that you are not seasoned enough to be this type of entrepreneur or CEO, we need to be looking at that. So you need someone in your corner that's going to hold your back when you're trying to run away. We're going to face the things that are challenging. And from there, growth is going to be the result. 6, of course, we're going to set the realistic expectations, right? The goals that we give ourselves, they have to be realistic. If we're just someone who kind of goes in, was like, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and the goals are just not realistic for you at the time, your brain is going to get, or your mindset at least, is going to say, whoa, you're not going to do this. And the brain is not going to, give you those good thoughts and those good ambitions. And you're always going to find yourself in another loop or in another pitfall because you are not doing things that are conducive for growth, because you're just thinking about, wait, am I this person? Can I accomplish these goals? These goals are too big for me, right? Because maybe you have always been thinking small. So you have to set goals in the beginning that are going to be achievable and attainable. And then from there, you make the moves to those bigger goals. And then 7, of course, practice self-compassion. Now, this is going to be a no-brainer. Understand that you're human. Understand that we have to grow and we have to make progress. From there, you are going to be able to, look at the doubts that you have, the imposter syndromes that you have given yourself or the world has given you. And then you start to separate them from reality. When you finally separate everything into the right order, you're going to find that you're able to do more in your day. We're trying to get out of that fixed mindset and more into the growth mindset. As we take a look at this blog one more time, the overcoming modern self-doubt and imposter syndrome, it goes into so much more detail, the psychological patterns involved into the thinking, and then, of course, the methods for you to get out of this way of living and or being. Now, it might seem like a walk in the park for you to do something like this, but it can be extremely difficult to change. Change is not something that just happens overnight. It takes consistent and deliberate effort. If you are a person that says, oh yeah, I'm going to change New Year's resolutions, I'm going to change, I'm going to make my life a better life, and I'm going to make this the best year yet. Sure, you are definitely giving yourself the ambition. But the problem is you have not become the person that's going to hold yourself accountable. And that's why I always say to seek support. And that's why it's one of the tips. Because if you can't seek support, you're going to find yourself always seeking comfort. You're always going to seek back or fall back to where you were doubtful, where you didn't feel at home or comfortable in your skin. Because anyone can say that I'm happy today. I feel loved today. Look at how many followers I have. Look at how much people love me. But then again, these are the most loneliest people in the world. I remember a quote by Robin Williams. He talked about loneliness and he suffered from depression, essentially, and he ended his life too early. But he talked about sadness and about being in a room full of people and never feeling so alone. And sometimes we can feel like the world's against us, that we are fighting this battle by ourselves. And the only thing that we have to do in order to retrograde that thinking is to ask for a little bit of help, is to reach out our hand toward someone who we know is going to reach back at that hand and grab it. Have you found that person yet? Of course, reach out to us, revenconcepts.com, if you're looking for that person to give you that help, to give you that hand, to give you that boost, the direction to that person that you would like to become. It's not an easy journey all the time. Sometimes it can be a simple tweak and a simple conversation, but sometimes there's a lot of repair that has to be done. So I don't know your situation, but I encourage you to reach out to us for whatever you may be experiencing and for whatever type of growth you may be looking for, the goals that you have in your head that you would like to become reality, they can be yours. So with all that being said, make sure you are staying tuned to the podcast, staying tuned to all of our content, like, comment, subscribe, do all those things that are going to help keep you in line and keep you adjusted. I understand that not every day you're going to feel motivated to change, but on the days that you get that boost and that you have that desire, those are the days that you should just knock it out of the park. And if you can knock it out of the park those days, you're going to see tremendous growth and potential in your life.